All right, mark my words. If the A7V has the same sensor as the A7 IV, they are going to get dragged like we've never seen before. Okay, I wanted to make a quick video giving you guys my reaction to the Canon R6 Mark III launch alongside the 45mm 1.2 that I just think is not getting enough attention. And by the looks of it, the A7R5 or the A7V is going to be coming out soon. And in my opinion, this is the most important camera launch for Sony that they've had in the past couple of years. Now, I want to start with the Canon R6 Mark III. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little salty. I'm usually a part of their launches. They didn't include me in this one. I think they crushed it with the R6 Mark III. I mean, you're getting open gate, 4K 120. Photography, you're getting pre-capture, 40 frames per second shooting. I mean, and they addressed a lot of the other flaws of the R6 Mark II. I just think it's going to be a really hard camera to beat spec for spec. And I think more than anything, out of that entire launch, I was most surprised by them including open gate in the R6 Mark III, carrying that over from the C50, which is a more cinema focused. You know, that's usually not a Canon thing, right? Canon's known for excluding certain things, right? And also throwing in pre-capture as well is, I mean, Canon is moving different, it looks like, you know, and on paper, it seems like the R6 Mark III is just a true 50-50 hybrid beast with no cripple hammer in sight. I give this launch a solid 9 out of 10. You're getting flagship level features and specs in a sub $3,000 camera with, of course, the Canon reliability, the Canon ergonomics. You know what I'm saying? While everyone was looking at the Canon R6 Mark III, I was actually eyeing that 45mm 1.2. If you were to blindfold me, I would have thought that Canon opened up their mount to some third-party manufacturer. This 45mm 1.2 under $500, it sounds like something that like TT Artisan would drop, right? It doesn't sound like something that Canon would do. And it's a shame, right? Because Canon, in my opinion, has the best ergonomics out of all the other systems, right? It's my personal favorite, and that's why I've been using Canon lately. And I've always said this, and it matters more now than ever. The user experience of the camera is going to be the most important part of choosing a system, because when eventually technology hits a stalemate, which is, it's kind of like that now, it's going to matter what camera do you like to use. Canon has it locked, like the ergonomics. This feels like a true photography tool. The problem is that my single biggest complaint with the Canon RF system, I'm sure a lot of you guys agree, is the availability of fast, affordable lenses, you know? So to get a lens brighter than an f1.8, you're stuck spending at least $1,400, $1,500. Whereas on other systems, right, with an open mount and third-party manufacturers, you can get these super fast lenses for at least third of the price. That is why when someone on a budget asks me for some camera advice, it's 2025. It's hard not to say Sony because of all the budget glass out there. But I think that with the 45 1.2, this can be the sign that Canon shooters or previous Canon shooters have been waiting for. This can be the moment where Canon takes back some of that hybrid market share, and just allows people to get into the system without spending an extremely high amount of money for their L lenses. And to be fair, and this is something I've been thinking about lately, I've always said that one of the biggest reasons to shoot Sony is for the lens selection, right? But at the same time, it's one of the biggest reasons to shoot Canon is for the simplicity of the system, right? So I sometimes shooting Sony and seeing a million lenses being released every single week, it gives me, I hate having to lust over so many different lenses. There's too many options at some point, all right? Yes, I love options, but it's a little too much. I want everything. I want this, I want that. With Canon, they offer the L lens lineup is just so good. A lot of the lenses have stabilization built in, and it's just kind of like you use what you got, and there is a beauty in the simplicity of that, where there's not a million different options out there. Now, what about the A7V? Again, if this sensor is an A7 IV sensor, they're gonna get dragged. Okay, they're gonna get dragged. They can improve every other part of the camera, but if it has this sensor, it's not gonna matter. But do I think that that's what's gonna happen? I would bet my house, I just bought one, I would bet this house that they wouldn't do that. With the Z6 III and now the R6 Mark III, I can't see that happening, right? The competition is just getting too fierce, right? They've been chilling. It's time. It's time. You know, Lumix already is out here casually destroying everybody with giving you damn near every single thing you could ever want in a camera for a reasonable price, right? Nikon just dropped the ZR. It's getting a ton of love online. And Canon just dropped the hybrid monster, the R6 Mark III. They can't. No, they can't do this again, right? Now, what do I think the A7V is going to look like? Now, I do think that it's definitely going to have a new sensor because this will be the first camera to offer open gate recording. That is my prediction. Now, if the sensor is not partially stacked, it will be one with a faster readout and will have the ability to shoot 4K 120. I just think that the pressure that Lumix and now Canon, even Nikon, everyone, and even all the Sony users out there, they've been clamoring for something like open gate, whether you see benefit in that or not. Objectively, it does give you more flexibility. And I think that this camera will be the first one to have it. Now, I have seen the rumor on Sony Alpha Rumors where this camera will be adopting the A7R5 ergonomics and the 4-way screen. You know, and this personally, this seems very on brand for Sony. I wouldn't be surprised if essentially the A7V took all the same hardware internals of the A7R5 and they included it in this camera. And I'm talking about the AI chip with the autofocus and the subject recognition. I'm sure that's gonna, I think that's gonna be the same. You've got the 8-stop IBIS, same menu system. Dual CF Express, possibly. I don't think that it will have the same 9 million dot EVF. I think that that is just a really premium thing to put in a camera like this. But at the end of the day, the A7R5, the body just, it never really felt like a premium body. It just has a really nice sensor in it. So I just think that it makes sense to kind of bring that down and upgrade the A7V with that. Now, in typical Sony fashion, I think that they will probably include some kind of new feature, right? Whether it's a cinema feature or something that's going to temporarily be exclusive to the A7V, right? Like when the A7 IV was dropped, we had focus breathing compensation, which was in no other camera. Then they had the photo video switch, and then they had that new menu system that they brought over from FX3. I also think that they're going to include some kind of new feature, right? Like maybe some new, bringing over some anamorphic support from the cinema line, or some new video monitoring tools that people have been asking for that will most likely get included in an update for the FX3, FX30. Maybe this will be Sony's first mirrorless camera that can shoot internal raw video. I am also pretty certain that it will get a bump in frames per second. I mean, these cameras have been shooting 10 frames per second for the longest time. And I could possibly see it having something like pre-capture because it seems like everyone else is doing it. And of course, the A7V will most likely not include a true mechanical shutter because, not most of their newer cameras do not have a true mechanical shutter, but I digress. I'm not gonna touch on this topic right now. I'll do that later. But at the end of the day, I don't think Sony has to work really hard to make this a successful launch. If they don't introduce open gate recording, then it better have some, 4K 120 ability or, something else intriguing, something else, or it's gonna be DOA. But personally, look, I just don't think Sony is going to top the R6 Mark III spec for spec, right? And I say this because seeing some of the interviews that I've seen and just the way they've been moving lately, right? Like that interview that Armando did with Sony engineer, I think, where they talked about open gate, and he said that open gate is a niche feature that most people don't need that, and yeah, they want you to believe that, but people have been asking for it, and it's actually useful. I just think that Sony knows how much of the market already are invested in them, including all the third-party manufacturers, and that people are not just going to leave simply because another system has a camera with slightly better specs, right? It's almost as if like they've conditioned us throughout the years to believe that if this one camera doesn't have something that you need, just wait for the next, there'll be a release in a couple months and that camera will surely have what you're looking for, so don't leave, right? But I just think that the market has changed. The market is a little different now. It's a lot more competitive, clearly. And a lot of people that were Canon loyalists went to Sony because, you know, they just offered a better hybrid system. But now Canon, look, they're not messing around. They're coming. Nikon is coming. Pause. Market's tough. Lumix already. I mean, people don't talk enough about Lumix, including myself. I mean, I'm using the S1 II right now. There's what more could you want out of a camera? Open gate. I've got 32-bit float audio coming through here. They've done all the things that everyone else is trying to do. You know,